Please share and subscribe, because the story you are about to hear is more than just true crime. It is a descent into the abyss of human cruelty. It is a story of manipulation, power, sadism, and law enforcement racing against time. And it is the story of two men, Lawrence Bittaker and Roy Norris, forever branded as the Toolbox Killers. They used pliers, they used sledgehammers, they used screwdrivers, ordinary tools of everyday life, twisted into instruments of unthinkable torment, and they recorded it. This case remains one of the most terrifying and disturbing chapters in American criminal history. Tonight, we don't just revisit their crimes. We dissect the law, the evidence, the courtroom drama, and the lasting shadow they left on society. California, 1979. The beaches of Los Angeles and Orange County were alive with teenagers chasing freedom, surfboards under arms, radios blasting rock and disco, hitchhikers lining the roads. It was a place where youth believed in safety, in adventure, in the kindness of strangers. But behind that sun-soaked illusion, danger stalked the highways. Serial killers like Ted Bundy, the Hillside Stranglers, and Richard Ramirez would carve their names into the era. Yet among them, the story of Bittaker and Norris stands apart, not just for the brutality of the murders, but for the methodical partnership that made them so deadly. This wasn't idle talk. This was premeditation, a criminal conspiracy forged in the shadows of prison walls. Lawrence Sigmund Bittaker was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in 1940. His mother abandoned him at birth. His father, unwilling or unable to care for him, placed him into an orphanage. Soon, he was adopted by a couple who moved frequently due to the father's work in aviation. But Lawrence never settled. He felt unwanted, alien, disconnected from every environment. By age 12, he was already in trouble for shoplifting. Soon after, he racked up arrests for petty theft, car theft, and runaway attempts. Every time his foster parents scolded him, every time he claimed he didn't care. At 17, he dropped out of high school and stole a car. His criminal record spiraled. Hit and runs, evading arrest, repeated probation violations. Judges described him as intelligent but unmotivated, pathologically resentful of authority. Prison psychologists noted that Bittaker displayed no remorse. He didn't seem to fear consequences. He was cold, calculating, and increasingly violent. By the 1960s, he had already spent more time behind bars than in freedom. But instead of rehabilitation, prison hardened him, teaching him how to manipulate, how to deceive, how to mask his darker urges until opportunity struck. Roy Lewis Norris was born in 1948 in Greeley, Colorado. His childhood was a carousel of instability. His father worked long hours as a factory laborer. His mother struggled with addiction. Social workers shuffled him between relatives and foster care. Unlike Bittaker, Norris's rage surfaced through sexual violence at an early age. By 16, he had attempted to rape a female relative. He was sent to a juvenile facility, then the Navy. In 1969, while stationed in San Diego, he attempted to assault a woman. Soon after, he committed a brutal rape, dragging a stranger into his car at knife point. Norris was arrested, diagnosed as a mentally disordered sex offender, and sent to Atascadero State Hospital, a maximum security psychiatric facility. Doctors noted his compulsive fantasies, his violent impulses, his inability to control them. He was deemed no longer dangerous and released in 1975. The system had failed, and within years, he would meet the man who would unleash his darkest desires on the world. In 1977, inside California Men's Colony Prison in San Luis Obispo, two paths of destruction crossed. Bittaker was serving time for assault with a deadly weapon. Norris was locked up for rape. On the yard, in workshops, in mess halls, they found each other. They began as acquaintances, then as confidants, soon as co-conspirators. Prison records reveal their conversations, fantasies of abducting teenage girls, of building a secret torture chamber. Bittaker was methodical, mechanical, cold. Norris was impulsive, sexually driven, eager to please. Together, they formed a pact. When they were released, they would join forces. They would find victims. They would silence them forever. This wasn't idle talk. This was premeditation, a criminal conspiracy forged in the shadows of prison walls. Upon his release in 1978, Bittaker purchased a vehicle that would become infamous, a silver-gray 1977 GMC Vandura. The van had no side windows. Inside, Bittaker modified it for one purpose: abduction and torture. He installed a bed in the back, curtains to block outside view, tools hidden in compartments, duct tape, pliers, wire hangers, screwdrivers, a sledgehammer. They called it Murder Mac. With the van ready and with Norris paroled shortly after, the duo began their hunt. They practiced approaching girls. They took hundreds of Polaroid photos of teenage runaways, hitchhikers, and unsuspecting beachgoers. Most were left unharmed, scouting missions to perfect their technique. By the summer of 1979, their plan was in motion. The spree would begin, and it would end in screams. June 24, 1979, Hermosa Beach. 16-year-old Lucinda Cindy Schaefer was walking home from a youth meeting. She had turned down offers to hitchhike, determined to stay safe. But fate had other plans. Bittaker and Norris spotted her, pulled over, and offered a ride. She refused. They circled back. Norris feigned mechanical trouble, crouching at the back of the van, pretending to fix something. When Cindy passed, Bittaker struck, grabbing her, forcing her inside the van. Inside, she was bound with duct tape, her screams muffled. The van rolled away from the crowded beach and toward the isolated mountains. For hours, both men took turns raping her. Bittaker insisted she not be killed in public view. They drove deep into the San Gabriel Mountains, and there, beneath the pines, they ended her life. Norris later testified that Bittaker strangled Cindy with a wire hanger, tightening it with pliers. They wrapped her body in a shower curtain and threw her over a canyon cliff. Her remains were never recovered. July 4, 1979, Independence Day. 18-year-old Andrea Joy Hall was hitchhiking to a party. Bittaker and Norris offered a ride. This time, they perfected their ruse. Norris stepped out, pretending to check something at the side of the van. When Andrea leaned to help, he shoved her inside. They gagged her, bound her hands. Bittaker assaulted Andrea while Norris remained outside. Later, Andrea was stabbed and strangled. Her body too was discarded into the mountains, never recovered. September 3, 1979, Hermosa Beach. 15-year-old Jacqueline Jackie Gilliam and 13-year-old Leah Lamp were hitchhiking. Bittaker and Norris abducted them. For nearly 2 days, the girls were held captive in the van, raped, beaten, forced to pose for Polaroid photos. Both were ultimately strangled and killed with wire hangers, and their bodies were discarded in remote areas. October 31, 1979. Shirley Lynette Ledford, 16, accepted a ride home from a party. Bound in the van, she endured 2 hours of torture. Bittaker wielded pliers and a sledgehammer while Norris recorded her screams. Her audio tape became key evidence, shocking jurors and detectives alike. She was strangled and discarded in a suburban neighborhood. Norris confided to a friend, sparking the investigation. Surveillance led to his arrest. Under interrogation, Norris confessed, identifying Bittaker and the van, tools, photos, and tape. The police located skeletal remains, confirming Norris's confessions. Bittaker was arrested shortly after. The case against both men was overwhelming. Bittaker's trial in 1981 presented overwhelming evidence. The van, tools, photographs, and the audio tape of Shirley Ledford's final hours. Defense attempted to discredit Norris, but the jury remained unconvinced. The physical evidence was undeniable. The jury deliberated the overwhelming evidence. Bittaker was convicted on all counts: 5 first-degree murders, multiple counts of rape, kidnapping and torture, and sentenced to death by gas chamber. Norris pled guilty and received 45 years to life. Justice had been served, but the scars would remain forever. The trial concluded, but the impact would resonate for decades. Bittaker died in prison in 2019. Norris died in 2020. Psychologists classify Bittaker as a true psychopath, Norris as impulsive and suggestible. Their crimes demonstrate how criminal partnerships amplify sadism. The case influenced forensic psychology, law, and procedures for handling torture evidence, accomplice testimony, and criminal profiling. The Toolbox Killers remind us of the darkest potential of human cruelty and the enduring importance of vigilance, law enforcement, and justice. The mountains remember, the families remember, justice remembers. Their story ends, but the lessons remain. In memory of the victims. Never forgotten, never repeated. If you or someone you know needs support, resources are available.